Welcome back to Energy Discussions. And today, what are we doing?
Rewriting 343's Trilogy because it sucked.
Yes. The what do they call it? The Reclaimer Saga? No, that's all.
Reclaim with Trilogy.
Yeah, but yeah, basically Halos 4, 5, and Infinite will be rewritten.
Halo 6.
Yeah. Rewritten to have a better connecting story. Kind of more in line with the originals.
I realized
just cause it's fun. So let's start out by saying, maybe controversially, I want to keep Halo 4's story mostly the same, but maybe more accurately, just keep a lot of the ideas it had, kind of build off of Halo 4's premise and idea and turn that into the whole trilogy rather than kind of ditching all the ideas, you know?
Yeah.
So, so first, we gotta start with Master Chief. So I'm gonna say, maybe like an opening cutscene, there was like a couple of Promethean incidents on Earth, like they were just like spawning in knights or something. Just there've been some problems, and maybe the Didact is already around, but he's like threatening humanity or something. I don't know. But anyway, Infinity, this time around, Infinity will be the one to find Master Chief and wake him up.
I disagree with the part that the Didact should just be around. You definitely need an explanation for how the heck a random Forerunner ancient guy just showed up out of nowhere.
True, we can get to that, and maybe we can build some mystery around it.
I think starting with Jewel and Dama is probably the smarter option because
that's true.
It's a Covenant remnant.
Basically, I just want some conflict going on Earth already, giving them an excuse to kind of like
maybe not.
It was
maybe not on Earth.
Yeah. Well, maybe not on Earth, but with humanity. But like basically, it was Lassie's idea. Just like, hey, we're desperate. Maybe we should try to find Master Chief in the hope that he survived. Or he had like a theory or something that he was still alive, so he went to go look for Forward Unto Dawn. Basically. But here's what the important thing. I want the first thing that the player sees when they wake up is Spartan's Sarah Palmer.
Really?
Yes, because I want her to say something like, he's still alive. Thank goodness, glad you're back, Chief. It's great to see you. Something like that. Immediate, complete 180 from her introduction originally in 4.
Which was a bad reference.
Yes. So, well, it wasn't even a reference. It was just thought you'd be taller.
I'm pretty sure I've heard that it was a reference to something.
It's basically just her showing up and talking down to Chief. That's basically what most people saw out of that. It's like, I'm sorry, who are you? Who you're talking to here? But so that's also part of the goal here, is to fix a lot of the character in a lot of the characters that the trilogy had. Because, to be honest, there isn't really a single good character.
Lasky.
I mean, he's likable, but that doesn't make him good.
He had good moments. At least in 4 he did. I know nothing about the story of Halo Infinite, and I don't even know if he was in 5.
He is in 5, but like from what I can tell, as a side character. Kind of because he had to be.
Everybody was a side character in 5, including Chief.
So, basically, they wake him up, take him back to Earth, and Halo 4 originally had 8 missions. I'm going to bump that up to 10. I have 10 minimum for each of these games. We're going to try we're basing this off of gameplay for missions. That's how it's written.
I don't know how they were allowed to get away with 8 missions.
Don't know. Probably Spartan Ops was their excuse. Maybe. I don't know. But anyway, so he's going to go back to Earth, and we're going to do maybe some Jewel and Dama stuff on Earth. Maybe there's been like some beef What if we kind of turn this into like a political thing rather than Julm Dama was just straight up like a terrorist? What if the Covenant Remnant were kind of seen as like a Cold War type situation here, where
the two sides don't like each other, but they haven't pulled the trigger yet.
They were at truce. Like Arbiter could be a straight up ally, but there was like a truce between the Covenant and the UNSC, and Julm Dama's had it. Maybe he was like the radical guy of the Covenant, and he was pushing for war, and he finally got his wish, and he's attacking Earth. I don't know, couple missions.
Yeah.
And then
I still don't think we need to go back to Earth specifically, because in Halo 3, it was made a very big deal that the Covenant, or Halo 2, it was made a very big deal that the Covenant showed up on Earth, because that had never been something that happened before.
How about this? Here we go. This is how we can bring the Didact in. The research station that's in like Mission 8 or whatever.
Yeah, that's by the ring.
That's by the ring. What if the Didact was imprisoned on the ring? The research station was doing, its stuff, accidentally awakens the Didact in the middle of this conflict that's going on. And then he flees, he takes control of Julm Dama and flees, and Master Chief tracks him with Lasky and the Infinity to Requiem.
That could work, and then Requiem's where the composer is.
Yes. So Didact's whole goal is to get the composer, and he wants, and this will go back to the Halo ring, because the composer this time around will be basically what it was, except it'll be missing its full potential. So
it'll be powered by the rings, basically.
Yes, there will be a component on the ring that he needs in order to get it to its like maximum power. So that's another thing. Each game will take place on the rings because they should have done that in the first place.
At least in some capacity.
Yeah. So basically we'll have the station, we'll have Requiem for a few missions, and then we'll have the ring for a few. So maybe like station for 2 missions, Requiem for 4, and then
ring for 4. And that's 8.
And maybe we could take away 1 from one of them. Actually, how about this? We'll take away 1 from each, give 1 to an Infinity boarding mission, and 1 to a composer boarding mission, kind of like the last.
Or we could just have 11 missions.
We could keep because we need 4 for each. Depends on how the story works.
Well, if we have 11 missions, we can cut 1 of the ones on Requiem, have 4 for the ring, 1 Infinity, and 1 composer.
I guess. Well, we'll see. But basically, that's the idea. But the composer one, what we'll do is we'll keep it more or less the same as the last mission, except one, that it'll just be better gameplay-wise completely. More stuff to do, more compelling villains to fight, all this stuff. And then also you're an actual boss fight for Didact, not a quick time event.
Yeah.
So Lasky is going to be your like companion, your buddy, kind of like he was in Halo 4.
Power note to the enemy.
Palmer will be in it a bit, but not entirely much, because we're going to keep Spartan Ops as a thing, because I like the direction it goes, and it's going to make more sense because Julm Dama will be a thing.
Yeah, we'll just put all the Palmer stuff in Spartan Ops.
And again, people don't dislike Spartan Ops. It's just the fact that Firefight was replaced with it was people's problem.
Yeah.
So that doesn't have to do anything to do with the story. So we'll just leave that. But Spartan Ops is staying. That means Fire Team Majestic is staying. Palmer will be working with them. Del Rio will be an antagonist here. And a real antagonist, not a plot device.
Yeah, he will specifically be the UNSC antagonist against the Return of Chief.
Yes. So he basically just doesn't trust Chief, because we can keep the Cortana thing, but just to a lesser degree, because I want to keep her for the other games.
Yeah.
And maybe have like a climax at the end with her rampancy or something.
No. I don't know how I feel about replacing Cortana with Weapon. I think that could go either very right or very wrong, but
we could see about it later. But I'll tell you right now, Cortana is not the villain.
No.
Of this.
No, villain Cortana was a stupid idea.
Especially when you had so many other options. And you use none of them. So, Del Rio will be an antagonist kind of thing, but a real antagonist. And basically, that'll just be the plot. Didact's the villain. He's trying to use the composer to get rid of humanity. Joel Mdama is your secondary villain. You fight the Covenant here and there. He becomes, taken over by the Didact like he did in the game. And, I don't know, Lasky's just the pal,
Yeah, he's your buddy.
Yeah, he's the buddy. So, anything else you want to add for 4?
Yeah, not really any big Covenant stuff aside from Joel Mdama. Arbiter could be mentioned, but I don't think he should be in it at all.
Yeah, Arbiter will be not really like a main part, just because we have focus on other things.
Yeah.
He can be there if he has some importance, but like we're not just gonna add him like they did in 5 just to add him.
Yeah, no.
So
gotta have purpose.
Yeah. So Halo 4 will basically end. We'll be hinting at the Cortana stuff, I guess. Had just a few things that'll probably play into the distrust that Del Rio has.
Yeah.
So then we go into 5. So this may be a little controversial, but I don't think many people would have a problem with it. I want Halo 5 to be 50-50 split between Locke and Chief. And the whole premise of, the whole game and story of 5 will be based on the premise that everyone thought they were getting in 5. Is Locke being sent as a bounty hunter type person after Chief.
Yeah. And obviously, Lasky and the people aboard Infinity would be on Chief's side in this case.
There will be no Chief going, kind of traitor. Locke will be treated as a rogue Oni type Spartan, kind of working off the books, like a CIA agent type deal.
Yeah.
All units. Turret constructed.
But yeah, so Locke 50%. Fire Team Osiris and Blue Team are both on cut because there is no reason for these extra characters. There wasn't even a reason for them in the game they were in. They were standing around the whole time.
Doing nothing.
Yeah, so out.
Our base is under attack.
So we're going to introduce the Banished in this game, right?
All units.
Because we're going to tie in the Banished more.
Our allies are attacking the enemy base.
Yep.
Just to kind of bring them up to speed. So they're going to be like the Covenant antagonists. They're going to be a UNSC antagonist. Obviously, they have beef with Cutter from Halo Wars 2. And he's going to be the main focus for the Banished. But
I do
can still have a thing.
Yeah, I do think that we're probably going to keep all these stories more separate, but try and tie them together near the end. The Locke story, the Banished with them, and then Joel Mdama and the Didact.
Well, the whole idea with the Banished is just to kind of make them a more menacing villain. Because, I guess more of like a bigger threat. Because if they're just in Halo Wars 2, it's kind of like, oh, they're cool, but they're not like that big of a deal.
No real
impact.
Yeah, no real threat, no impact, none of that.
Yeah. So that's the idea there. And then Chief's whole thing will be just kind of, working with Lasky, doing his thing. We were playing with the idea of Del Rio being the one who sent Locke after Chief.
Yeah. And it makes sense after the events of 4 for that to be the case, because if Del Rio is antagonistic in that setup in 4, it makes him sending Locke after Chief makes sense in 5.
Yeah. So, and then to be clear, Locke isn't, or not Locke, Del Rio isn't going to be a bad guy just to be a bad guy. I think it's good idea to treat him as like that super patriotic military officer that's just misguided, but ultimately had good intentions.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to go for him, because just having another antagonist would just probably be one too many. So him,
Yeah, we already have like 5 antagonists.
we're using Didact, we're using Julm Dama, we're using Escharum, and we're using Atriox. So for 5, we're gonna have Julm Dama and Atriox be the main villain.
And Julm Dama is going to die in this one.
Yes, Julm Dama is gonna die. Do you want that to be in the main story or in Spartan Ops 2?
No, he has to be in the main story, because if he's in the main story of 4 and a major character, he has to die in the main story of 5.
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So Julm Dama dies. Maybe Locke can kill him. Unless that feel robbed if Chief didn't. Depends. It's how it goes. I don't think so, because
I don't think so, because Chief's main rival in the story would probably be more Escharum than Julm Dama.
Yeah. So I want to keep Atriox is gonna be the villain that you fight, but he's not like Chief doesn't see him as like the big guy that needs to be stopped. He's kind of just a brute guy. Because I want to leave him for Cutter, but still have him in it.
Yeah,
and we can kind of build up Escharum for 6, and Escharum's gonna be completely rewritten 100%. But he's gonna be a menacing guy.
An enemy player has been eliminated. All units.
So there's just gonna be like a huge climax, actual fight with Locke versus Chief. Do you think it'd be cool if you got to decide who you wanted to play as during the fight, and then you just fought them, which was like a legendary AI Spartan bot?
I imagine it would probably make more sense that you had to play as Chief.
Does it though? Because if it's Locke in your whole game, in the whole time in the game, you're missing.
Actually, if you were forced to play as Locke, and then there was like this special Chief AI that was just impossible to beat, then that would be really interesting, right?
Yeah. Well, it could be at the point where you get him down to like 10% health, and then it switches to a cutscene, but you still get to fight. But I think this choice should be made, because on one hand, you were forced to play the whole game or half the game as Locke, hunting Chief. That was your objective. But on the other hand, if you just always want to play as Chief, you should have the option of playing Chief if they want to in that.
Yeah.
But either way, it leads to the same thing, no matter who ends. The point is, you get the fight and you get to make the choice. I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
So what's the goal here? What's the end for 5?
Well, the end for 5 would be the death of Julm Dama, Chief and Locke teaming up. And then the Didact and his plan being fully exposed, which would probably be him like going back to the Ark or something in order to fully power the composer or something.
Not necessarily, because Didact's killed in 4, so we need to bring him back in 5. And
the Didact wasn't killed in 4; he was just fought.
Well, okay. So the idea was you thought he was killed in 4. He survives, comes back, teased at the end of 5. I don't want him in 5 because that's too much. But
he could be in 5, but not like directly related to Chief or anything. He could just talk with Julm Dama. That way you kind of get the sense that Julm Dama is below him in some sense.
Or Julm Dama's talking to someone the whole campaign, but you don't know who it is. You have like theories. And at the end it's revealed it was Didact. Like super battle damage, kind of just like commanding Julm Dama's forces.
Yeah.
From outside. So here's a cool idea. We'll have the Prometheans be orange in the 4th game, and then they turn to purple in the 2nd game because they're under Julm Dama's command.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And you're always wondering, like, how did that happen? How did he pull that off? And it's because the Didact gave him the command. Eventually, that's what you'll find out. But the main here will be Locke versus Chief. So now what's Chief doing the whole time?
Well, Chief would be hunting Julm Dama and the remainder of those forces.
Okay, but where does that take us missions-wise?
Well, the composer wouldn't have been destroyed, so Julm Dama would have been continuing the Didact's plan most likely.
So maybe start with like a mission on the composer.
Yeah.
And then, okay, what's Jewel and Dama's plan?
Well, Joel and Dama will be continuing the Didact's plan, but I imagine he'd probably want to betray him in some sense. So what he's probably trying to do is get full control of the Prometheans.
So that's the other thing. Joel and Dama will not be brainwashed by Didac. He'll be like a partner with him, but completely on his own, mindset, I guess.
Yeah. Then you get the part at the end where before you get the fight with Joel and Dama, Joel and Dama tries to go out on his own and betray whoever he's working for, take over the Forerunners for himself, and it doesn't work.
But we need like a locational
go.
goal for Jewel and Dama. So I want to...
Well, what if he needs to find something like a Forerunner facility in order to do that? We introduce a new Forerunner facility.
He's looking for something on the Ark. This is how we bring the Banish into it.
Yeah, because the Banish are on the Ark already, right?
Right. So he's at war. Banish are at war with Cutter on the Ark. We can have a Cutter cameo in it. And then this makes sense. This is how we take Atrax as a villain, because that way it doesn't make sense that he leave the Ark just to have beef with Chief for like a couple of missions and then go back. So that way we go to the Ark because Joel and Dama went there. Joel and Dama's at war with them. Chief joins Red Team for a mission.
Yeah, so we could like start on one of the other rings because, he's still going to try and power up the composer. And then after that, he goes to the Ark because he finds out on the ring that he can use something in the Ark to take control of the Forerunners.
Yeah.
And then that's Joel and Dama's story. Then I imagine Locke would be trailing behind, so he'd reach the Ark last. And he'd probably have like a mission on the ring after everybody else leaves, where he's like, fighting some of the remaining forces.
What if we kind of treated it like ODST's campaign, where you play as Locke first, you're following like the clues, like the whole like New Mombasa, like at night type deal, and then you find stuff like he goes into the Banished facility, finds the computers, like, oh, there's remnants of an AI being here, and then it switches, and you play as Chief through the mission that you just like deduced as Locke, I
don't know if we would want to mess up the timeline there, though.
It's not timeline. It's just kind of, it's playing as one, seeing like, oh, so I think this is what happened, and then let's go see what actually happened. So it's like off by like a day, and then ultimately they'll just meet up, in the right time.
Well, I don't know. I kind of want to keep things chronologically ordered because if we go out of order, it just gets confusing.
I mean, not really. It wasn't confusing in ODST. I mean, the whole idea is just telling the story. So
yeah, but this is a mainline Halo game here. ODST gets to be a little bit more freeform with its story because, it's for the more dedicated fans. It's a spinoff.
I guess. But I don't know. I don't see anything wrong with telling a story in a creative way.
Yeah, I just think for the sake of maintaining consistency in gameplay, it would make more sense to...
Yeah. But basically, one sentence pitch for 5 would be Locke is hunting Chief.
Yeah.
That's basically it. But actually hunting Chief. And we can come up with like personal reasons for Locke, why he actually like wants to do it. Because we can always play into that like they kind of did in 5, the original 5, but not entirely. Was like, everyone likes Chief. Why do you want to be the Spartan that's responsible for taking him down? Everyone's going to hate you.
Yeah.
So,
personal vendetta. Locke has an ego. There's a lot of directions we could go here.
Not ego, because we want people to like Locke.
Well, maybe he starts out with an ego and then his character arc is getting humble.
True. That's true. I don't know. Lots of ways you can play it. So Locke. So far we fixed Del Rio, Locke, Joel and Dama, Didac.
I'll do this.
Even Chief. Cortana will play up more on the rampancy thing, and then maybe like there'll be a huge like explosion of it at the end of 5, and then 6 will start with like a timetable thing where it's like, Cortana's about to die, so
yeah, limited time to save Cortana. And then Chief thinks that because the Didact came back, there's a way to save Cortana as well.
So maybe that could be the thing at the end. At the end of 5, Chief actually decides to go rogue because he has to save Cortana. That's like the final cut.
Yeah.
And then Locke has him. But then like after the fight that was earlier, they have like, the whole discussion or something. Locke lets him go.
Yeah.
And then
see that wraps up the Locke character arc. That gives like the big setup for 6. That just does everything we need it to do story-wise.
I want Locke's story to be complete in 5 so he doesn't have to be in 6.
Well, I think he could be in 6. I think he should be in 6 even, because if he's half the game in 5, maybe Locke could play an Arbiter type role as like the Player 2 character in 6. He's now like helping Chief, but it's Chief's story still. And there could be some missions where Locke isn't there.
I guess. But
All units.
I don't know. I always felt in 3, Arbiter was kind of reduced to side character rather than main character.
Yeah, which is basically where you're going to kick Locke out of the game, so it makes more sense to have him be a side character.
Well, he could show up like for one mission or something, but I don't know. It's like if we don't need him, why force him in?
Because he's a relevant character that was in the previous games.
It's relevant for that game. Because each of these games are going to be complete standalone, but also tying to a full trilogy. So we can decide, just saying Locke could be in only 5, and that wouldn't be a problem.
I think since you're spending so much time on Locke as a character, he kind of has to be in 6 in order to make it feel like it's worth it.
I mean, not necessarily. If it's complete, it's complete. That's worth it enough. I don't know. It's like, think of it's a show of a TV season of a show. You have characters that show up for one season. And if they like have a complete story from beginning to end in that season, like sure they can come back in the next season, but do they have to? Just because they have a complete story?
We could do the one thing that they thought they were going to do in Halo Infinite and have Escharum kill Locke.
Could do that. But
that's a way to build up Escharum as a villain in 6.
Wouldn't that feel like more of a waste for Locke though? He went through all.
Well, if Locke is a character in like the first 3 missions or whatever, right? Then it feels like, Locke is still an important character here. And then when he dies, it hits that much more and it's more impactful. So you only need to keep him around for the first 3 missions, and then he's dead, and then you don't really worry about him.
We'll get to that. We'll just pin up Locke as possible for 6, but complete after 5.
Yeah.
Open to return. He's a free agent. He could come back. So now 6. You have we could have Atriox sent Escharum and like a few warships of the Banished, or maybe just one capital ship, I don't know, some Banished forces after Chief because he meddled in the Ark stuff, and he fears Chief being out there could potentially be a problem for him in the future.
Now, I imagine it's more interesting if Atriox sends it after Didact instead, because he's already at war with the UNSC, right? So if it was a 3-way conflict going on here, that would make things a lot more interesting, because maybe there could be a mission like in Halo 3 where you team up with the Flood. Maybe there is a mission like that where you team up with the Banished, or you team up with the Forerunners. There could be a mission like that.
Possibly.
I think there's a lot more potential.
But it would make more sense to team up with like some Covenant Remnant rather than Banished, because that's kind of stabbing
Arbiter?
Not Arbiter. Cutter in the back. And it doesn't make any sense to team up with Forerunners unless there was like a good Forerunner force.
Well, I think it'd be like a Halo 3 scenario where there's a threat to the Forerunners, which would be, in this case, Escharum. Maybe Escherum's going to like destroy everything, kind of the same way they were going to activate the rings, and it's in their best interest to team up.
But Didact's going to be the big villain of 6.
Yeah. So maybe Didact has some Forerunners team up with Chief in order to kill Escharum.
So
and then it becomes a full-on battle, because Escherum's blocking Didact from activating the Composer.
Could have Didact convince Chief at the beginning of 6 that his goal is not like any kind of extinction. He's just trying to stop the Banished or something. So he teams up with Didact to kill Eshram, and then it turns out he was just playing him. Didact was just playing Chief. He's using him.
Well, what if Didact says that using the Composer, he could bring back Cortana? Like, he could prevent Cortana's rampancy.
Uh-huh.
Because that gives Chief a personal motivation here.
So that's something. Or the other thing I was thinking of is, like I mentioned, Atriox sends Eshram after Chief.
Yeah.
Because like I mentioned that in 5, that one mission that he'd be on the Ark, Chief used Cortana to, like, hack a banished terminal or something. But what if, because like of the rampancy, Cortana left like a part of her like code in the banished thing, and it has like all the secrets of the UNSC in it. So Atriox sent Eshram after Chief to get Cortana.
We could have Cortana split in 2, have like the rampant side of Cortana as sided with like the Didact or banished or whatever, and then the other part of Cortana.
We could do both of these things. Just kind of give Eshram. That's like a double reason for Eshram being there.
Yeah.
I think that works. But I think that's interesting because it's like, Atriox struggling with his war against Cutter, and all of a sudden here comes this thing that has every single answer and tactic of the UNSC. And he's like, I want that, please. So it makes sense why he diverts some of his resources.
Yeah. And if, say Cortana promises to help Eshram in exchange for helping or having Eshram fight the Didact, there you go.
Yeah, like Chief is trusting Didact, but Cortana isn't.
Yeah. Cortana views the Didact as the bigger threat, but Chief is viewing like Eshram and the Banished as more of a threat.
Yeah, so you have you got like back and forth stuff here. So that's good. That's good character right there.
Yeah.
And then Lassie's got his background, Palmer's background. That's just like good compelling stuff right there.
Yeah, that's our main characters got something to do. Both our main villains have a reason to not only fight each other, but to fight Chief as well. And then, we got...
How about this? What if we sent Locke to... he went to Cutter for Halo Wars 3.
That could work. Locke stays behind on the Ark.
Yeah. That way, it's kind of giving him something new to do. Instead of kind of dragging him back to something, he gets to grow as a character, and then you just get another hero for Halo Wars 3.
Yeah.
Which, even
That's
if he's
cool.
not in the game, if Chief isn't like a hero for Halo Wars 3, that's just like huge missed opportunity.
Well, it's like, it just is better to have as many characters able to do things as possible because it always opens up more story potential.
And then I think we should end with Didact being defeated. Eshram's dead. Atriox is left with this war in against Cutter at the Ark, but you could say that he's in a worse case now because he's lost Eshram and his plan failed, so his little chance didn't work out. I think Cortana should die. Chief he runs out of time. He's forced to say goodbye. And then at the very end, you have this could be at some point 5 or 6. Del Rio gets in trouble for Locke's thing. Unless you want to keep him around and have him try something in 6, but that might be too much.
Yeah, I imagined if something was going to happen in 6, Del Rio was going to have to die.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. We can have him be back on Infinity, and he can get that like kind of patriotic death where he's like, he dies.
I reminds you of the chairman of Pantora from that one episode of Clone Wars. I died for my people.
Maybe a little bit like more sympathetic than that.
Yeah, but still, something like that.
It's at the point where it's like if you buy his kind of if you get where he's coming from, great. If you just want him to die, you get that too.
Yeah,
a win-win type thing. So Yeah, and then I think at the end maybe tease. I think we should tease. Chief gets the weapon at the end, and everyone's kind of just wondering, oh well, what does that mean? Like how's that gonna work? Do you think Chief can move on? All that stuff.
Of course, we're gonna have the dialogue from Cortana. It's like, they're gonna replace me, and it won't be me.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Just play off of that. Set up another game if you want to do it, but like it's complete, right?
Yeah.
So now we have all characters pretty much actually doing something. We have a complete story beginning to end trilogy. We have our villains that actually get to do stuff.
And be villains.
So again, this has a lot to do with gameplay. But
well, I imagine gameplay, we'd keep it mostly the same as the games actually were, but just make the missions actually good instead of not good.
This is more of an outline for the story more than anything else.
Yeah, this is a rewrite, not a complete reimagining.
Right. So, yeah. But anything else? Anything?
I mean, we're leaving Arbiter out, but I think that's okay. If we need to, we could just have an Arbiter spinoff that takes place during this time, or have Arbiter show up on the Ark or something.
So that could be a different video. It's a complete Arbiter trilogy spinoff, but I think that should be a different Arbiter, not that.
Well, we could just do like the Covenant history spinoff that goes over Arbiters, stuff like the Grunt Rebellion or the Taming of the Hunters.
Yeah, stuff. Yeah, all that kind of stuff should be in games.
We've lost the squad.
So yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
We'll create